Back on HQ Live from the Super Bowl Game Plan is brought to you by Empower. Take your money questions at empower.com. Taking a look at your QB comparison as we tackled the props not long ago, but here's a look at what they've done throughout the entirety of the season. Slow to start at times for Patrick Mahomes, but slow to start in the postseason has been Brock Purdy and these San Francisco 49ers. Let's hear what our quarterback room thinks of this head-to-head matchup. Danny Kanell, Brady, Quinn joining the conversation here from Las Vegas. Tommy Tran to my right, Joe Musso here as well. Gentlemen, it doesn't get a whole lot better than this when we're talking about quarterback play and storyline on the other side. But let's start with Patrick Mahomes, because it doesn't get a whole lot more comfy than this. Fourth Super Bowl start in 6 seasons. He's the rising tide that lifts all of these ships, Danny. How do you think he projects against this zone-heavy San Francisco defense?
I don't know if I've ever seen anybody really give him fits, so I think he'll be fine. I think that's one area of his game where he really has just continued to evolve from, a young point in his career, is his knowledge of everything. He's very much a student of the game, and somebody that's so, gifted, just throwing the football, being able to improvise. You would think maybe he kind of takes that for granted, but he doesn't, and that's where he talked about early in his career where he could still get better. I think that was after the year he threw 50 touchdowns. We're like, you can get better than that, but he still does. But I think the key, and I think that the key to stopping Patrick Mahomes is trying to get pressure on him with the front four, which should play into the 49ers' hand. Like, that's one of their strengths, but actually going out in there and doing it is a totally another story. Because I go back to the Super Bowl against the Bucs when they had him running around. You've got to keep him running for his life, and even then he's probably going to still make some throws that are going to hurt you.
Yeah, another part about that is he's so special once he does get outside the pocket, keeping his eyes downfield to create. And the receiver group has continued to develop as the season's gone on. I think, honestly, if you want to stop Patrick Mahomes, you got to stop Travis Kelce. I mean, if you look at the games they lost so far this season, they basically try to eliminate or take him away, and when they do that, you force someone else to have to rise to the occasion, or you have to force Andy Reid and the Chiefs to do something that they don't want to do. That's run the football consistently with Isaiah Pacheco. They'll do it in spots to keep you honest, but they don't want to do that. They want to put the ball in the best hand in the universe right now in Patrick Mahomes and let him go win the game for you. So if they take away Travis Kelce, which doesn't sound like you're going to do, if you play a lot of zone coverage, Danny, you and I both know Patrick Mahomes will pick you apart. The 49ers are going to have to do something they don't feel comfortable doing, playing more man or devoting someone to be on the line of scrimmage to beat up Travis Kelce and not allow him to get downfield like we saw time and time again against the Baltimore Ravens.
It's just that room for improvisation inside those zones that Mahomes and Kelce seem to be on the same page season after season, Tommy. It's been spectacular to watch it come to form these last few weeks as well.
And they've been different Kansas City teams over the last at least 2 years. No Tyreek Hill last year. They had to prove it. This year, mainly on the defense. So you guys talked about what Steve Wilks has in front of him, and it was Robert Saleh 4 years ago in Miami Gardens. But if I were to ask you, Brady, and I'll start with you first here, what's been different about Mahomes this year than the previous Super Bowl years? What stands out to you?
Yeah, he's not trying to do it all on every single play. There's been times where I think their offense was so special, he would try to kind of extend the play. He would try to keep his eyes downfield when he had Tyreek Hill, who you knew eventually was going to separate. That's not this iteration of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. Instead, he's making the smart decisions to get rid of the football, scramble up, take what he can get. Even in some moments, instead of throwing the football away, knowing if he takes a sack, it's going to take time off the clock. And so it's almost like that version of kind of Tom Brady we'd always see down the stretch where he makes the right football play, Danny. I think that's what's impressed me most is he's leaned on the other parts of this team to get to this point, and I think he knows when he has to, he can flip that switch. He can go and be the special quarterback that he is.
Doesn't it feel like he flips that switch in the postseason this year? Like, he was very patient all season long, almost like they didn't really care. They just wanted a seat at the table because they knew once they got there, they'd be okay. And for the first time, we got to see them prove a lot of their critics wrong when they were on their road, myself included, because all season long it did look like, what is wrong with this offense? Why, where is the continuity? Where is the consistency? Where is the high-powered offense that we had traditionally seen? And all of us thought, oh man, like Travis Kelce, he was in a funk throughout the middle of the season. Then it's which wide receiver is going to step up? Who's going to step up to the plate there? But to your point, a lot of times if you see that happening, you might see a quarterback forcing the ball way too much and making really boneheaded plays. But Patrick Mahomes just consistently was patient, said, nope, I'll just keep waiting, keep getting better, and we'll be right when we have to be, and that's in the postseason, which is exactly what's happened.
In a word, elite.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those labels that we use to make sense of what we're seeing. Maybe the labels for the other guy is a little bit unfair. Game manager, system quarterback, however you want to call it for Brock Purdy. Again, just labels for us at this desk to make sense of what we're seeing, but with what Brock needs to do in this game, how do you think he meets the moment, Brady?
To me, it's what we just talked about that Patrick Mahomes is doing, because he already displayed all those extraordinary talents that he has early in his career, winning 2 Super Bowls. With Brock Purdy, it's like you don't appreciate the smart football decision. You don't appreciate when he's able to kind of scramble and just make the short little play here or there. He's not blessed with the same ability to run like Lamar Jackson or throw like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, but he does have a lot of intangibles that he can take and apply to that team and to distribute the football. That's all he's got to do. So I don't care about labels. I really don't. I'm so tired of that narrative with Brock Purdy. All I care about at this moment is, if I'm Brock Purdy, is continuing to do what I've done. And when the team calls upon me in the fourth quarter, second half of games, figuring out ways to go and win football games, he's going to have himself a Super Bowl.
You know, we've gotten so caught up in lingo, and you mentioned the labels that you come up with, and game manager all of a sudden has become an insult. I think when I think of game manager as like the insulting way, it was don't screw it up.
Right.
Like Trent Dilfer with the Ravens. When they had an unbelievable, Brad Johnson with the Bucks, when they had the cover 2, Tampa 2, it was don't screw it up. Kyle Shanahan does not ask Brock Purdy to go out there and not screw it up. He goes out there and asks him to make plays. I mean, they are stretching the ball down the field. He's taking shots down the field. And this was the area of the game in the postseason specifically that really impressed me. I don't know if that's the wisest pass ever right there thrown against his body. But running the football, he is athletic. He is able to hurt you with his legs. And he's also able to hurt you off script. That to me is what kind of separates just guys and guys that are special, is when you can start making plays outside the system when everything breaks down.
The last thing I'll say about the whole label situation, all right, if he wins this Super Bowl, that's the only label people are going to talk about in the rest of his life. It'll be a Super Bowl champion. So forget game manager, whoever else is out there throwing this out there. If he wins, he's a Super Bowl champ, and no one else has anything else to say about that.
Opportunistic, perhaps, the label coming for.
And he has led this Kyle Shanahan-led offense. Now the question then becomes, because he's shown flashes of using his legs, especially in that NFC Championship game, Dan, is if you're Steve Spagnuolo, you know pressure's coming, but the matter is how much pressure, and if Brock Purdy runs, do you change things up? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he's killing you, I mean, that's clearly what your defensive game plan would be to try to pressure him. And I mean, in any player that you're going up against, you're going to sprinkle in some blitz and see how they handle it. And if you kill them with it, then they're going to get out of it. So that's Brock Purdy's #1 task, is because we did see Steve Spagnuolo throw the kitchen sink at Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson had one of his worst games of the entire season. So he's going to try to do the same. They're going to show blitz, back out. They're going to bring zone pressures, and they're going to try to, at times just bring 4 and try to confuse him with looks in the secondary. So if he handles the blitz, he won't have to face it all day, but if he doesn't, he'll get a steady dose of it.
Different type of pressure in this matchup as compared to the AFC Championship game, okay? With Lamar Jackson, when you're pressuring, you're trying to find ways of plugging in bodies to make sure there is no leak that allows Lamar Jackson to get out and really hurt you with his legs. With Brock Purdy, that's not going to kill you if he gets outside the pocket and runs. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get him and get those negative plays to get them off script, because this offense, and you can attest to this, it's not built for them to be constantly playing in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 plus when they get there. If you can get them off script on 1st and 2nd down and stop the rushing attack with Christian McCaffrey, that's where the pressure becomes that much more critical, at least to me, as far as getting those negative plays, winning the field position battle, and then Kansas City being able to win a tight, lower scoring game like we saw them do versus the Baltimore Ravens. So to me, it's not so much about pressure, it's about how they go about bringing this pressure. I think they'll still bring a fair amount, but you got to be concerned about some of the matchups between Ayuk and Kittle and everyone else.
So to answer the question that's on the graphic here, if you're Steve Spagnuolo, are you letting Brock Purdy beat you, or you're stopping C-Mac? Are you trying to stop Deebo, everything up front?
First and foremost, you're stopping the run game, all right? I mean, and every defensive coordinator will tell you that. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, I know with you on this, but you walk into every single game plan to say, well, we're going to stop the run. It's like, well, yeah, of course. They want to put it on the quarterback. And in particular in this game, they want to as well, because I also think the pass rush has gotten better when the Chiefs just rush forward. You have to think about Chris Jones and George Karlaftis and guys off the edge. So it starts and ends with stopping the run, but, stopping Brock Purdy on 3rd down or getting him to 3rd and long is going to be a key, too.
I think if Brock Purdy has 40-plus attempts, that's not a perfect game plan. Right. That's exactly what you would want if you're the Chiefs, is to force them to throw that ball that much. And meanwhile, if you're 25 to 28 attempts, I think that's the game plan that Kyle Shanahan would love to see. And you have Christian McCaffrey, rushing for close to 100 yards, maybe catching for 40 or 50, having an MVP-type game. Because I do think Christian McCaffrey is probably the biggest component in this game of the determining factor. If he plays well, I think the 49ers win. If he doesn't, I think they lose.
We've got 6 days to synthesize those game plans, and we're going to break it down each and every one of those days. Danny, Brady, we appreciate the insight on these quarterbacks as always. Get ready for Super Bowl 58 by watching the NFL Super Bowl Classics channel exclusively on Pluto TV, now until February 21st. For a limited time, relive 54 historical Super Bowls and catch award-winning programs from NFL.